To start, I, 25F, met my best friend, who I'll call Jordan, 24M, 2 years ago at university. We both started at the same time, and due to our ages, we were considered mature students. So, we quickly became firm friends as we shared a dorm and joked around together about being old enough to be considered mature in our early 20s. We weren't on the same course, but since we lived together, we would hang out pretty much all the time whenever we didn't have a lecture. We joined a bunch of societies together, went drinking every weekend, etc. Obviously, we made other friends, both separately and together, but we were always each other's number one friend at the end of the day. At the moment, we're on spring holiday for Easter, and while we haven't hung out constantly, we decided to make plans to visit each other's hometown because we're from very starkly different places. Today, we went to mine. It's a big city central. This morning, we went there and were wandering down the streets doing some sightseeing. There are typically a lot of street sellers here, trying to sell you everything from hot dogs to fluffy Pokémon hats. I decided I wanted to get a caricature done, as I've never had one, and I thought it would be funny to get and hang over my bed when we got back for term. I asked Jordan if he wanted to get in, and he refused. No worries, so I sat down to get it done. They don't take very long, about 5 to 10 minutes, so I stayed, looking straight forward at the artist the entire time. He finished the caricature, and I loved it, so obviously I turned to show it properly to Jordan. When I turn, though, I literally don't even know what to say. He's down on one knee holding up a ring box. I don't even really know what he said, if he did the whole proposal speech thing because I was so confused, I was barely paying attention. Remember, again, this is a super busy tourist city, so this has drawn a mini crowd now, coming over to cheer us on. I couldn't help but burst into laughter. To be honest, I thought this was some kind of odd prank type thing. We never have been the prankster types or whatever, but I couldn't come up with a reasonable explanation, so I just laughed and laughed and laughed until I looked at Jordan and he looked genuinely heartbroken. I asked him something along the lines of, "Are you being serious right now?" He shut the box, stood up, shrugged, and said, "I guess not anymore," and walked off. This is the only thing I remember him saying. This left me standing pretty awkwardly in this gathered crowd of people, a lot of whom were giving me dirty looks, which made me incredibly uncomfortable. The plan was to meet back up at a hotel that we had booked rooms next door to one another, so I figured that's where he's going and headed back that way. But he's not there, so I wait, and he still doesn't return. I text him out of concern. This was at 1:15 p.m., and it's currently 6:20 p.m. as I'm writing this, just asking if he's okay. He responds with a long message back, which I would post because it's an odd read, but I won't out of respect for his privacy, in which he basically accuses me of leading him on, asking why I didn't break up with him sooner, saying I had publicly humiliated him, and that he thought I loved him the same way and that he felt our relationship was strong enough to consider taking the next step. Now, this is completely out of left field. I literally have no idea where in the world he's got this idea from. The closest we've ever physically been is a hug, hello, and goodbye. I've never even jokingly flirted with him for exactly this reason. I've had too many friendships collapse because they can't tell the difference between serious interest and joking banter in friendships, so I've been extra careful to not. We've never kissed, never been on a date, never smashed. I do not find him physically attractive, and I wouldn't want to be in a relationship with him. I don't understand where on earth he's got this idea that we are. This isn't something he's ever brought up before this, and I'm genuinely bewildered. He hasn't returned to the hotel yet. I periodically knock to check, and I've been listening out for him walking up the hallway or anything, but nothing. I haven't responded to his long paragraph, because honestly, I don't know how to. I'm just so stunned and taken aback that I genuinely have no idea where to go from here or what to do. Update 1. So, Jordan did not come back to the hotel. I stayed up until 1 a.m. before falling asleep, and he didn't return. When I woke up the next day, the hotel staff let me know he had checked himself out at about 6 a.m. I did end up responding to his big, long text. I took everyone's advice and told him that I was sorry it didn't go as he had expected, but that I wasn't sure where he'd got the impression we were together. I said I'd be happy to sit and have a discussion about it all so we could make sure we're on the same page. He was not happy about this at all, and he again went off with a bunch of the same type of thing he'd said in his first message. It didn't really seem to be going through his head at all. Even in these new texts, he kept referring to this all as me breaking up with him, despite me explicitly telling him we are not and never have been. Again, all his messages were very clear and coherent, even if what he was saying was not based in reality at all. He wasn't sending paragraphs, just sentences in really quick succession, which was blowing up my phone. He told me he didn't want to meet up with me to talk because I had ripped out his heart and crushed it in public. I did ask him for specific instances he could recall between us that made him think we were dating, but he completely ignored the question and just kept going on and on about how hurt he was that I was breaking up with him and how he felt his world was ending. He said he loved me more than anything and had felt so confident that I had too, which is why he felt so certain about proposing to move our relationship along. Eventually, to be honest, I grew pretty tired of the conversation and stopped responding because it was just going around and around in circles, me asking where he got this idea, him ignoring this and telling me how hurt he is I'm breaking up with him over this, etc. He went on and on, saying he thought it would be a ring I liked because it was my favorite gem, ruby, instead of a diamond. It's got me wondering how much he actually spent on this damn thing. I didn't look very closely at the ring, so I couldn't tell if it was something super expensive or not, and that he had been working up the courage to do so for a while and figured doing it when I was at home would make it more special. For a while, he was just talking to himself in my text because I wasn't responding anymore. When I checked back about 20 minutes later, I had something like 60 messages from him, granted they were all one sentence. At the very end, he apologized and told me that it didn't matter anyway because I wouldn't see him around anymore. Obviously, I was concerned, so I asked for clarification. He said that he was going to drop out of university and go back home because he couldn't deal with the shame. That's where our conversation ended, and I didn't really know how to respond to that. I haven't reached out to his family yet. I did consider it, but if he's not having a mental health crisis, I don't really want to involve them unnecessarily. Update 2. Hey, it's me again. Still doing okay and hoping this will be the last update I need to make, granted I thought the last one would be the last. Following my update post, I messaged Jordan's mom, and she messaged me back on Facebook that same day. She agreed that this was incredibly out of character for Jordan. In fact, she mentioned a few other things that she had noticed as being off about him in the last few weeks, nothing crazy, just things here and there she'd never known him to do or say. I spoke with her at length about Jordan's mental health and potential psychosis, and she told me that there is a history of mental illness on his dad's side, including a paternal uncle's sewer slide, but that she doesn't know all that much about it because they've not spoken to one another in quite a long while. Our conversation lasted about an hour, and I showed her all of Jordan's texts and whatnot, and she agreed that they sounded quite manic, regardless of how coherent they were. A lot of people also asked if he had told our mutual friends and acquaintances that we were dating. I did message our mutual friends, our dorm mates, etc., and they all basically said they have no idea what I'm talking about, so it seems he's just been sort of having these thoughts by himself without expressing them. I don't know how to get in contact with his close friends that we don't share, so I can't really ask them. Anyway, for a few days, that was it, until yesterday evening, I got word from Jordan's mom that he had been detained under Section 136 by the police. For anyone not from the UK or who, like me, doesn't know what that is, from what I can tell, it basically means he was suffering from an obvious mental health disorder in public, with their behavior concerning enough that they're a danger to themselves or to others, and police think they need immediate and urgent care. What I know from here is pretty minimal, and I'm not sure where he was taken to, but his mom said that he would be there for the day while they perform a mental health assessment, so I assume that's what they're doing today. She said that essentially he had been out in the streets yelling about things, she didn't specify what, and intimidating other people on the street. He was throwing things around and generally just causing a lot of issues, and police got called because people thought that he was drunk. They established he wasn't, and that's all I know. His mom and I again had a chat, and we sort of assumed that mental health and or psychosis is likely right. The rejection of the proposal probably set him into a spiral of getting worse in the last few days, bringing us to where we are right now. I do feel pretty awful about that. I'm doing my best not to blame myself, but it's hard not to feel like I caused it. Either way, he is currently with police and mental health professionals, likely being assessed. I don't know how the system works, so I'm not sure what will happen beyond this point. If someone with more knowledge wants to chime in, please do. I'm hopeful, though, that this will mean Jordan will be able to get some help for whatever it is he is currently dealing with. This has been a whole lot of emotions, and I really appreciate the help of everyone on my last 2 posts.